Welcome to Financial Revelations. I am David Safransky, your host on our semi-weekly podcast. We are going to do it weekly. We get out of whack sometimes, just schedules cross or I'm traveling. But we're making that commitment to do this weekly. There's a lot of current events that are going on, but we welcome you to Financial Revelations. You could always listen to us Thursday mornings, every Thursday morning, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on WCRF 103.3 in Cleveland. And if you're not in Cleveland, because believe it or not, we have people that listen from all over the world, you could download the Moody Radio app and listen to us over the internet. I think the internet's going to be a big thing. I think I want to invest in it at some point in time. You could also send us your questions. If you have an individual question, we're not going to read your name out loud. We're not going to tell people where you live or anything like that. But I do like answering listeners' questions because I know that if you have the question, other people have the question too. So you're really helping people out by asking that question. You can email those questions to Joshua at epsf.com. Joshua at epsf.com. You can follow us at on Twitter at skibucks1. Josh is going to put all those addresses up on my forehead here. There's a lot of space for advertising there. And you can also reach us at the office. You call the office. You may even get to talk to me. 1-800-344-2534. 1-800-344-2534. And the 800 number is working again. We'd like to thank the phone company for making that happen, since it's their only business is to make those phone calls happen. And we want you guys to be able to reach out, get information, find out if what you're doing is in your best interest, if it's right, if you're on path. You don't ever have to invest with us. There's no charge. I'd like to say again, there's no charge. So I want to thank everybody. A big thanks to everybody who attended the workshop this last week. We had it at Harvest Christian Church in Elyria, Ohio. Thank you, Harvest Christian Church, for hosting us. A good time was had by all, especially me, because I get to meet a lot of the people who are listening, or some of the people who are listening. And I love doing that. I love interacting with people, and I love kind of hearing what they think about the show. And they're always disappointed when they see my face for the first time, because they say things like, "Oh, I thought you would be taller. Oh, I thought you would have more hair. Oh, I thought you'd be better looking." But this is what they got, and by the end of the evening, I think they were okay with me. Now, if you didn't make it, I'm sorry to say you lose, because I don't know when I'm going to do another one again. It may be some time. The last one was like 11 years ago. So based on that metric, we got 11 years. But I think I might do one before then. Josh really loved it. The staff was there. They really loved it. So maybe we'll do another one. But we met a lot of great people. Now, one of the things that we talked about there that I want to give you guys is I talked about 3 books that I want you to read, and a 4th bonus book, which is a really hard read, but if you got through it, it's really pretty dramatic. The first book is called The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. Josh is going to put these up. The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels by Alex Epstein. Got to read this. It's going to make you and by the way, these are not like economics books that you don't have to take notes or highlight. You may want to take notes and highlight, but they're really meant to be read by what I call non-economists. So it doesn't get into a lot of math or anything like that. The next one, The Virtues of Capitalism. You have to read this book. It is an easy read. It's a great read. In a lot of ways, it's a life-changing read. Now, if not everybody who listens or watches the podcast is a believer, but I want you to be. I want you to get What the Bible Says About Money by Larry Burkett. It's out of print, but you can get it on alibris.com. And then the 4th book, which I did not bring with me today, but it's a bonus book, is called The Wizard and the Prophet by Charles C. Mann. And what it talks about is the first plant geneticist in the late 1800s and some of the earliest environmentalist movements. And you're going to see something. I'm not going to give it away, but you're going to see what the earliest environmentalist movements were like and their arguments. I'm going to give you this. Their arguments today are almost exactly the same as they were in the late 1800s. And they were wrong then, and they're mainly wrong now. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't be environmentalists. I think God was the first environmentalist because the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. And we're supposed to be clean, and we're supposed to respect our surroundings. We want to drink clean water just as much as anybody else does and breathe clean air. Did you know we're breathing cleaner air than we ever have in the history of mankind? We're living longer than we ever have. We have more food than we've ever had. There's no starvation going on around the world unless it's done by a despot trying to hurt somebody. We have more medicine than ever before. So cleaner air, cleaner water, more food, no starvation, living long. All these things are happening all while we're burning fossil fuels and at an increasing rate. So when they talk about cutting our carbon footprint, you should be increasing your carbon footprint. It has saved lives. Cheap, renewable, reliable energy. That's what we have right now with oil and gas. And I'm kind of an all of the above guy. I don't think we shouldn't be doing wind and solar and all those things and others, nuclear for sure, but not at the expense of everybody. And that's what we're trying to do right now. So Wizard and the Prophet, great read. I'm not going to lie. That's a hard read. It's a little bit harder. It's just long, but I think you'll get a lot out of it. If you read every other page, you'll probably be okay. So let's talk about current events. What are we here for today? Current events. In the next 2 weeks, we have a lot of current events happening. And some of them will be extremely impactful on what we do and how we do it and the economy as we know it. So in less than 2 weeks from right now, we're going to have the midterm elections. And I do believe that a red wave of some kind is in the cards. And what's on the ballot this time? What are we really voting for? I know we're going to vote for people, but what is the ideas that we're voting for? We're voting for the economy. The GDP, third quarter GDP came out today, the first read on it. Probably changed a little bit from here or there, but up 2.6% in the third quarter. So we're back to growth in the economy, albeit slow. And we just came out of 2 consecutive quarters of shrinkage, which in most normal times would be considered a recession. But I got to admit, it's really hard to get the word recession and 3.5% unemployment out at the same time. So was it recessionary? Yeah, it definitely is. Are we in a true painful recession? No. But I'll tell you what's going to happen in the near future here. We're also voting for energy independence. When the Biden administration took over last year, the first thing they did was cancel pipelines. Now, that in and of itself isn't going to lead to higher fuel prices, but the other things that they have done and are doing will lead to higher fuel prices. And they've released a lot of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the SPR, to keep prices down. But if you remember over the summer when gas was really skyrocketing, the energy secretary, the transportation secretary were all kind of singing the same tune, which is, oh, higher energy prices are good because they're going to help us transition faster. Well, they're not good. Higher energy prices are not good. I don't care what anybody says. They're not good. They hurt people, and they hurt our economy. And if you look at Europe right now, where natural gas is about 600% higher than what it is here, and it's not even winter yet. That's because we have allowed, really, the United States dominance in the energy markets. We've given it away with nothing in return. So apparently this administration is great to negotiate with because they give you whatever you want and they don't ask for anything in return. Well, I don't really like that. And so that's on the ballot. Immigration is on the ballot. We have now had more encounters with illegal immigrants at the border than ever in history. And those are the people that we've seen. Now, I don't want to dog on the people that are coming here because most of them are probably coming here to live a better life. I have no doubt about that. There's a reason we got to build a wall to keep people out. You're going to get a better life here than you would in Guatemala. I think I have a plan for that, and I think it could work, actually. Because if you told people, oh, look, okay, you're going to come here, we're going to let a certain amount of people in every year, but you got to come to a certain spot and you're going to get a temporary work visa. And so people who are coming here legally for the right reasons, they would get in. Well, anybody who's trying to evade, we know that they're probably not the people that we want. And so we would have to really catch a lot less people. And I know that, a lot of the people that are coming here, if they're criminals, we might not even know it. They might not keep good records in El Salvador. I don't know. So there are some challenges. It's not a perfect plan, but I think it's a better plan than what we got now. We're going to vote on this ballot for our children. I see a lot of things that are happening in, I see it online. I don't know how widespread it is. I know that you get targeted with things because people want you to get up in arms about, all ages drag queen shows. Well, I don't know who wins. I don't know what the purpose is of doing something like that, but it seems to me to be happening more. And I got to wonder who is taking kids to that, and why would somebody want to do that in front of a child? So I think sanity in a lot of ways. Abortion is going to be on the ballot too, because they want to codify Roe v. Wade. I don't know if they'll be able to do that if the Democrats hold the House and the Senate. I don't know. I would like to believe that they couldn't, but they might be able to. And I think the Supreme Court made the right decision, sending it back to the states. It's not a constitutional right. We're going to be voting on taxes. If you like higher taxes, if you want more Green New Deal, if you want things like that, then you got to vote for Democrats, because that's what they're standing for right now. And in the kind of the same vein, it's a vote for a wiser way to address the climate. And as I said previously here, we need to be clean. We want to be clean. And since, if you look back in around the 1980s and mid-80s, the environmentalists were saying, well, there's going to be no polar ice cap by the year 2013. That's what Al Gore said, and he made hundreds of millions of dollars off of that lie. Well, there's a lot of ice there. Climates are always changing. If you read The Wizard and the Prophet, you'll learn about the Humboldt Current. Never thought I'd say that in a conversation before, but the Humboldt Current is the current that runs along the west coast of South America, and it changes from time to time, and it changes weather patterns. So I want you to vote. I want you to vote. Okay, even if you don't vote for the people that I like, I want you to vote. You don't have to. It's not a mandate. It's a right. And so even if you don't vote, you could still complain if you don't get what you want. So that's the country we live in. But the left is already warning, if you vote for Republicans, there's going to be a recession, which tells me that they know that there's a recession coming. So don't fall for that. I think it's genius that they're doing that, and I love it. And we should take that page from their playbook in the future, because they're really smart about how they're doing this. I think that they know that there's going to be a red wave, and so they're planning for it. And that's, see, we told you. See, we told you. So on November 1st and 2nd, the Fed meeting is going to happen, which means on November 2nd, which is a Wednesday, the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates by 75 basis points. That's going to put the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage decidedly in the mid-sevens. I talked to a banker yesterday who had 30-year fixed at 6 3/4, which was a little bit low for this market. But I also think that they're going to have some softer language on future rate hikes. They're going to start talking about their policy is beginning to work, and we can moderate our rate hikes a little bit. But before they stop the rate hikes, they got to slow the rate hikes, because if they just stopped them altogether, it would be admitting that they were wrong. So they're not going to do that. But on that language, if it comes, I think you got about a 6 to 10% bump in the market on the slower hikes that will eventually lead to a pause. Okay, so I think that's coming. And by the way, as I said in the workshop, all of my predictions have the chance of being completely wrong. So I think that's what's going to happen if I'm reading my tea leaves correctly. And then on November 8th, we vote. We'll know a lot that evening, but some of the results might not come back to the 9th. And I think we're going to see a red wave of some kind. And I also think that has in between a 6% bump potential in the market. Now, I don't really like putting my faith in politicians. I don't. They all let you down eventually because they're people. But that's the world I live in right now, so that's what I have to kind of manage around. I know I'm going to heaven someday. I don't know when it is. I hope it's not too soon because I kind of like it here a little bit. I have things I want to do, places I want to see. But if it happened tomorrow, I would be okay. I want you to know I know where I'm going. I want you to know where you're going too. But what do we do in the meantime? We have to rely on politicians to kind of help us out. Well, right now I want to buy domestic large cap dividend paying stocks. That's what I want to do. As interest rates go up, those leveraged technology companies that have borrowed a lot of money to get their stuff done, their cost of doing business is a lot higher, and so their returns are going to be lower. So we're going to buy domestic dividend paying stocks. I'm not necessarily selling my big cap tech yet, but and I may never do it. I may hold them forever because I still like them. But they're not going to perform as well. You got to be ready for that. Bonds are coming back. I looked last night right before I left the office. I'm starting to see bonds into the sevens. Now, they're not the best companies. So after the Fed does their 75 basis point rate hike, I think we're going to get a pivot in the market where we can start buying corporate bonds again, new issue corporate bonds in the 7% range. And I could do that for a long time. I could sit on 7% guaranteed for a while because I do think inflation is eventually going to come back down and moderate because the Fed is going to make sure it does. They're not going to lose this battle. I guarantee you that. That is one guarantee I can make. The Fed is going to win this battle. And then I really do think our future is looking a little brighter. It's looking a little bit better because we're going to get the red wave. We're going to get the Fed slowing down. Now, let's say, for instance, I'm totally wrong about the red wave. If I'm totally wrong and it doesn't happen, then I have to change my investment thesis because things are going to be different. And they're not going to be the way that I would like them economically, so I have to plan for that. We could still make money in those markets because I think interest rates will go substantially higher. But if it doesn't happen like I think it is, there are going to be changes. And I'm going to be on the podcast. I think we're going to be able to do it that week also. And we're going to give you the lowdown on what comes next. So if I'm right, we've got some things to plan for. And if I'm wrong, we've got some things to change. So I want you to make sure you keep tuning in, keep listening, tell your friends about it. We're pretty sure we're going to have a line of clothing coming out. No, I'm just kidding. We're not doing that. We don't have time for that stuff. Maybe a hat or two at some point in time. But I want you to keep tuning in. I am David Safransky. This is Financial Revelations, and I will see you next week.